On August 7, 2015, in Sanderville, Georgia, NS train G23, a local from the Battle Lumber Company in Wadley, Georgia, was heading back to Tennille, Georgia from doing morning work. The train was led by SD 40-2 1637. The crew was given a track authority from the NS Savannah dispatcher to proceed toward Tennille Yard. Meanwhile, intermodal train number 208 from Inman Yard at Atlanta to Dillard Yard in Savannah was sitting at the yard at Tennille on the main line near milepost S133.0. With Dash 940 CW 9796 leading, ES 44 AC 8132 trailing, and a full double-stacked load of intermodal containers. The train soon got a track authority to work between milepost S133.0 East to milepost 78.8 CP Millen on the main line and to not depart until the arrival of G23. However, they thought the G23 was way off and that because they were a higher priority intermodal train that they could take off east without waiting for the G23 so they could clear up on the Tennille passing track sighting. They passed the Georgia Highway 242 crossing and the defect detector at milepost S131.5, which registered 208 heading 49 miles per hour eastward. The NS local G23 was running west toward Tennille after passing through the town of Davidsboro, Georgia, and the defect detector at milepost S122.3. It then crossed the Sun Hill Grange Road and then started around the curve that leads to the Highway 242 crossing, the same exact crossing that 208 was about to cross. They saw the NS 208's headlights and immediately threw their train into emergency braking before bailing out. The crew of 208 did the same thing, but it was too little, too late. Because 9796 was going faster, heavier, and had an anti-climber device on the front, it slung the SD 40-2 sideways and off the track, destroying her cab and body. 9796 then turned up on her side because of the sharp curve, and in doing so, ripped off its front hatch door and broke free of its trucks and traction motor wheel assemblies. The top-heavy engine compartment hood slid off and broke the mounts that hold the engine in place. When that happened, the big 4,400 horsepower 7 FDL-16 prime mover, along with the alternator generator, fell out. That also severed the red fuel lines that feed the motor from the 5,000-gallon fuel tank and began leaking the red farm diesel fuel. 8132 survived the wreck, but with minor damage. All 4 crew members of both trains survived, but suffered various injuries. 2 had trauma injuries, while 1 ended up on life support. Locals living nearby were stunned. 1 lived by the area for 15 years and said he'd seen derailments, but nothing compared to this. Since NS is known to have a pretty decent safety record, everyone was scratching on their heads, wondering what the heck happened. Investigation revealed that the cause was the dispatcher giving a track warrant for the stack train to meet 2 locals, adding the words, "Do not depart until." But there was later confusion by the crew of the stack train as it left after the first local passed and then crashed the second local. The engineer was also on the phone at the same time his conductor was receiving the track warrant from the dispatcher. For greater safety on dark territory, the dispatcher should have only given the track warrant for the stack train to meet the first opposing local and then request a call for additional authority. And then the dispatcher would then issue the track warrant for the second local meet order and authority to continue eastward. But the dispatcher was trying to save his time by including 2 trains in the same meet order, but left it open for the crew to miss the fact that there were 2 trains in the meet order, not 1. The crew should have also read and reviewed the orders together and fully studied them. When there's less to study, there is less room for error. The engineer should have also never been on the phone while either texting or calling someone on the job. According to NS safety protocols, cell phones must be locked in crew members' bags the entire time on duty. So this wasn't just dispatcher error, but crew error as well, although NS can't fully agree on the dispatcher being at fault. In the end, 1637 and 9796 were damaged beyond repair and scrapped, while 8132 was later repaired in New York and returned to service. It's been over 3 years since this crash, and whether PTC could have prevented this is up for debate, but we can only hope that dispatch procedures can be modified to prevent lazy shortcuts so we'll never see such an accident ever again.